Who doesn't want to be part of a high-performing team that's engaged and has a really strong sense of belonging? A recent study from the US has shown that peer-to-peer recognition is a critical component for building effective recognition programs within businesses. Welcome to Friday Fuel. This is part 4 of a 5-part series. And today we're talking to you all about peer-to-peer recognition within team performance.
When we're having a look at activating team performance, one of the key things that we quite often focus on is around how do we build relationships with our teams and between our interrelationships between those team members. Now, the key thing being here is that quite often when we're building relationships, we might be having fun. A lot of feedback after those events is all around that was great, but how do we continue this on a day-to-day basis? As Sarah's just mentioned, when you focus on peer-to-peer feedback, it actually creates that sense of belonging. It actually creates those stronger relationships. So 2 of the areas that I would like to focus on today, the first one is actually encourage your teams to catch each other doing things well. And what I'm meaning by that is that when we're in work and we're busy and everyone's stressed or they're hitting that aim game, they're really moving forward, what we seem to lose focus on is actually catching people doing something right. And what we are more likely to do is actually catch someone when someone's doing something not right or missing a deadline. And I know it's simple, but it's those simple things in life that actually really connect with people in today's world. It's so simple. Hey, great job when you were working on this particular part. So don't get flippant with feedback or catching people doing things right. Be really specific in your feedback when you catch people doing something right on how a specific activity or behavior has made a difference, and even go to the next stage of saying, actually, I really saw when you were doing that or interacting with that particular person, man, did you see that person light up? Because when you gave them that feedback, they just absolutely blossomed and you made their day. The second part about peer recognition that we really, really love, and that is something around buddy or accountability buddies. It's something that I use a lot on my training, and the reason that we do this, and we encourage you to do this within your teams, is because when people have a buddy, they're more likely to carry out something especially new. When you do buddies within the team and you've got that other facet we're talking about with catching people doing things right, if you then add on accountability buddies, they do it in a really fun way. Now, a lot of people in a team meeting might go off with a whole lot of actions, but everybody gets a little bit waylaid in what needs to happen because they get caught up in BAU. So accountability buddies is actually all around just those subtle reminders to each other. Now, the downfall here is so often people go, yeah, let's do accountability buddies. Off they go, they close the office door or they hang up from their virtual meeting, and then nothing's said. And someone shared with me the other day, we got a week down the track and I hadn't connected with my buddy because it was just too hard. I flicked them a few emails, but nothing back. So what we say, the tip to success of accountability buddies is actually making sure that in the moment, in that meeting or in that conversation, you identify a couple of things and lock them down. The first one is, how are we going to communicate? So what method are you going to use? Are you going to talk on the phone? Are you going to meet face to face? Are you going to text? Are you using social media? What are you going to use? The second thing you need to do to make sure it's successful is lock down frequency. So how often are we going to keep each other honest and touch base with each other? Is it daily? Is it weekly? What is it? And the more frequent, remember though, is the more frequent we are checking in with each other, the more likely we are to make a change.
And layering on that, another area that we can do with our teams and have that peer-to-peer recognition piece taking place is around gratitude. And I know it's bandied around a fair bit at the moment, but actually there's some really good, it's a really good place and a really good tool to use within your teams. And a really simple exercise that you can do, and each person in your team can do, is perhaps you're sitting in a team meeting on a weekly basis and you're sharing one thing with the rest of the team that you've learnt that week. You never know what people are learning and what information that they're taking in, but if they're sharing it with somebody else, that's where the real joy comes from being in a high-performing team and actually sharing ideas and learning so everybody can upskill along the way. Another couple of questions I really like to ask from the gratitude space is, what has someone done for you this week that really lit up your day, that really made your day, and it made you just stop in your tracks and go, that was cool, that was really nice. And having them share that information with you. And then conversely, what have you done this week that's made someone's day? Has somebody responded to you and given you that feedback that you were doing something that just happened completely off the cuff, and they've said, hey, that was really great, thank you very much? Sharing those 3 questions as a team is really important in terms of building that camaraderie and actually getting the trust between your team members so they have that sense of belonging between each other. It builds more engagement, and it does help create and foster that high-performing team.
So our challenge to you this week is actually to really put a spotlight on that camaraderie that Sarah just mentioned. You know, really spotlight on really looking at what are the techniques that we've just shared with you that you could implement or start sharing and exploring with your team that are actually going to then build trust relationships and encourage that peer-to-peer recognition. As Sarah mentioned, you know, a lot of the studies coming through at the moment is saying if you get that peer-to-peer recognition right, it really creates that sense of belonging, the sense of security, the trust, and that elevates team performance. We look forward to seeing you next week, where we will actually go through part 5 of our 5-part series all about activating team performance. Have an amazing week, and we look forward to seeing you next week.